Hey, I hope you guys are doing good today. We are going to be watching the potentially terrifying intelligence of the orangutan. I feel like this is going to be a dark one, but I think it's going to be good. If you do get a chance, I appreciate if you can leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a bunch, and I will have Casual Geographic's video linked in my description below, so be sure to give him a like and a subscribe. All right, let's see what this one's going to be all about. Let's go.
Giant ginger tree hippies don't always choose peace, but in 2014, one shocked scientist when she not only orchestrated the life canceling of another, she essentially hired a hitman to do it. The hairy honey trap was executed
What a way to start a video that you had made a orangutan hitman? Bruh, that is crazy.
by a young female named Condor, and the victim was a mother 20 years older named Sidoni. Living in the swamp forests of Indonesia's Mawas Reserve, the two had beef going back all the way to 2009, with Condor curiously approaching Sidoni's at the time 7-year-old daughter, and Sidoni defensively smacking and biting Condor before chasing her off. The
Oh my
perceived
god.
insolence stuck with Condor, and the disrespect was tattooed into her psyche. She was not letting that slide. Years later, Condor would catch the eye of a male named Echo, and the two would eventually run into Sidoni. They both approached, and Echo seemed to inspect Sidoni, who was now jockeyed by her 4-year-old son. Echo seemed curious in the mother, before losing interest and proceeding to mate with Condor right in front of Sidoni. Call it passion or power play, but either way, when Sidoni tried exiting the situation, Condor escalated, ending the lovemaking and savagely beating Sidoni. But what blew researchers away was
Oh my god. I didn't realize that they were like this. This is like a whole drama in itself. Oh my goodness.
ending the lovemaking and savagely beating Sidoni. But what blew researchers away was Echo going from bystander to participant. For 33 minutes, the two took turns beating on Sidoni, sometimes together, sometimes just Condor, with Echo blocking off any escape routes.
This is like some true crime type of stuff. 33 minutes they beat Sidoni. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is like a true crime story that you would hear.
Sidoni, sometimes together, sometimes just Condor, with Echo blocking off any escape routes. It was an honest to Abe jumping, and his much larger canines meant Echo inflicted the bulk of the damage. The pair didn't stop until a fourth orang, a male named Guapo, chased Echo off and ran defense for Sidoni, before mating with her. The Orange Knight would
Oh my god, this is just such a there's so much going on here. Oh my god. This is crazy. I feel like this is like this I'm listening to like a true crime story.
chased Echo off and ran defense for Sidoni, before mating with her. The Orange Knight would be too late, as a little over 2 weeks later, Sidoni became past tense due to her injuries, and
Oh
scientists were
no.
left wondering what they had just witnessed. In over 26,000 hours of observation, only 6 female on female attacks were recorded, and none caused serious injuries. Yet here was a spiteful orang leveraging
That's not very many. I feel like that's pretty good. 6 female on female fights in 26,000 hours. Like that's really nothing. And maybe they're just scuffles and like they are over with. I'm sure I'm sure animals just like people have bad days and it just kind of that's just what happens. But like this seems brutal. This seems absolutely brutal.
attacks were recorded, and none caused serious injuries. Yet here was a spiteful orang leveraging her carnal currency, specifically to erase one of her rivals, and Echo acting as a hired gun. Premeditated and personal, it was a shockingly dark look into the intelligence of the Forest Man, one that begs the question, just how smart are they, and just what could they be capable of?
I orangutans kind of freak me out a little bit. Like I feel like I don't know what it is about their faces. Maybe it's their eyes, but I feel like there's just I don't know. There's something that just makes me feel a little off when I see them. I don't not like them by any means because I don't think there's any animal that like I really like don't like even if they might be kind of scary or savage or whatever, but there's definitely I don't know. I feel like there's definitely something unsettling when I see orangutan faces and I don't know what it is because I don't know a ton about them, but I feel like, that's, like, the feeling I get whenever I see them, and, maybe that's unfair, but it's just how I feel.
To say orangutans are intelligent is honestly disrespectful, cause this tree-happy ginger ape is damn near human. That is an animal that can 100% speak. They just really don't want to deal with taxes, and that's only partially a joke. Their name, orang-utang, literally translates to man of the forest, cause locals swore they were plus-size people that chose not to speak because they know then they'd have to get jobs. In 2014, a court in Argentina actually granted human rights to Sandra the orangutan after 20 years of captivity. There's a cute saying that goes, if you give a chip a screwdriver, it'll use it as a weapon. A gorilla would accidentally break it. A bonobo would become the screwdriver, but an orangutan, he'd hide it, use it to dismantle his cage, and then let all his friends out. There's a bunch of reasons for this brainy Bigfoot, and one of them is them being the biggest mama's boys on Earth. No other mammal spends more time with its mother, except humans. In the up to and often over 10 years of being her shadow, baby orangs learned everything about how to orangutan. Not only that, but daughters often live around their moms even after having their own baby. This means orangutans are one of the few animals that have a legitimate culture, and what we see is
They have like legitimate families and extended families. So like that's cool. That's actually really impressive. I know orangutans are smart. I know that much. But the whole like family dynamic that they have going on, like that's really interesting.
baby. This means orangutans are one of the few animals that have a legitimate culture, and what we see is a sum of generational wisdom passed down. In 2022, a notorious Sumatran male named Raucus was seen using a medicinal plant to help heal a face wound he'd gotten in a fight. The 30-something-year-old applied the chewed-up paste of the akar kuning, an anti-inflammatory, antibacterial flowering plant traditionally used to treat malaria and diabetes. Raucus applied the paste for 7 minutes until it covered his wound, and 5 days later, it was completely healed.
That's smart. That is smart. That is impressive.
It's not the first time we've seen animals self-medicate. Parrots will eat clay to detox from all the leaves, and elephants will apparently eat certain plants to induce labor. But what made Raucus so radical is the simple fact that they rarely eat that plant to begin with. There's more evidence of orangs self-medicating with the same plants used by locals, and it's likely this knowledge was taught.
Is it chewing gum? What is this one eating? That's impressive. They're smart. They're smart.
More evidence of orangs self-medicating with the same plants used by locals, and it's likely this knowledge was taught, and not by humans. Mothers will even teach their young to have the same preferences for food, so that when they get older, they can forage in the same area without directly competing with all the other mother-child pairs. Another thing this citrus simian is smart enough to understand is calculated reciprocity. In this viral video, you see this man Vitaly trade snacks with a zoo orangutan. Not only did the hairy haggler refuse until he understood that he'd be getting something back, I swear you can see him check for zookeepers. If it sounds like a stretch, it's scientific.
He's looking around making sure he's not gonna get caught. Yo, they are aware. That is some awareness. That is impressive.
Getting something back, I swear you can see him check for zookeepers. If it sounds like a stretch, it's scientifically proven this untaxable entity understands the concept. Two orangutans at the Leipzig Zoo in Germany were given 3 different tokens and quickly learned that they could exchange one type for bananas for themselves. The second token type would earn bananas for the other orang, and the third type had no monetary value whatsoever. At first, the female, Doc, had no problem exchanging tokens to get the male, Bim, bananas. But Doc realized Bim wasn't really returning the favor, so she became a lot less generous. That gave Bim enough of an attitude adjustment to start trading his tokens more, until their efforts became closer to equal. There's another story of a zoo orangutan taught to exchange any trash he found in his enclosure for a food reward. Except he then realized if he just returned the trash in pieces, that would just mean more food for him, which
He's got big brain going. He had big brain there. I can't blame him. You know, get you your snacks.
Except he then realized if he just returned the trash in pieces, that would just mean more food for him, which was unfortunate when the trash was someone's phone, and tragic when it turned out to be a formerly alive possum. But what exactly is it that makes orangutans so smart? Well, the superpower is how they learn. When orangutans are spending all that time with their mothers, they learn everything they need to by watching and copying. Even after they leave, young males will find an older, phalangeed male to use as a role model.
Phalanges, meaning the cheek pads mature, dominant males develop when they reach the age/status. Oh, okay. Okay. So that's how you can tell like some are older.
Learning how to be an alpha male by mimicking everything he does. Mimicry is how they learn, and that learning creates cultures. It's scientifically proven when resources are good, orangs spend more time around each other and more time peering, watching, observing the other orangs. It's not just people watching, it's gathering intel, and they don't just do it to each other. Orangs regularly learn things just by watching the humans around them. This male was seen attempting to catch fish after clocking locals doing it,
Oh
and
my
one female,
gosh.
Supina, tried starting a fire by dipping a glowing stick in kerosene, blowing on it, and even rubbing it with another stick. But this shadow clone
Well, I hope she didn't make a fire because I feel like that could be a little dangerous. That one could be a little dangerous.
Jutsu can be wildly inconvenient. Camp Liki is an orangutan research and rehabilitation reserve where the Auburn apes have plenty of opportunities to study humans right back, leading to the trend of orangutans untying canoes from the dock and stealing them, and not even triple or quadruple knots can discourage them. Fun fact, it takes about a 7-hour canoe ride to get to camp, so one documentary crew
Oh my
decided to save
gosh.
time with a speedboat. They lost that time after a redman stole the boat and left them stranded. The
Oh my gosh, that is wild. That is crazy. That's like it's funny, but it's like it's it's incredible that they catch on that quickly. Little smarties.
time with a speedboat. They lost that time after a redman stole the boat and left them stranded. The power of perception has taught O-rings how to breastfeed, drive, and even saw wood, all from watching a human.
Wow.
It said O-rings have the intelligence of a 4-year-old.
Look at this one driving. It's got one arm up on top of the golf cart. Oh my gosh. I love it.
Drive, and even saw wood, all from watching a human. It said O-rings have the intelligence of a 4-year-old, but I've yet to see a toddler that did its own laundry. Now you're seeing what I'm saying.
True.
Bro's smart enough to talk, wise enough not to, and she's only sawing like that so we don't catch on. But what if I told you there's an even higher level of intelligence they can get to? Deception. Deception requires foresight and anticipating the actions or thoughts of another party. That's where intelligence can get scary. If orangutans have the capacity to trick us, we're talking about a whole different ballgame. Which brings us to the story of Fu Manchu. Now we're talking about an orangutan outsmarting humans, and it happened in the 60s in Omaha Zoo in Nebraska. I know, nothing ever happens in Nebraska. One day,
Right? Of all places.
in Omaha Zoo in Nebraska. I know, nothing ever happens in Nebraska. One day, zoo director Jerry Stone was doing his rounds when a couple keepers ran up to him. Panicking, they told him not one, but 5 orangs had escaped and were roaming the zoo. This was not good. Like all apes, an orang outside is a code red
Oh,
situation,
man.
and a starting lineup of them walking amongst people was a canon event begging to happen. All it would take was a human or orang getting too curious for it to be a bad time for everyone, and Jerry sprinted to them before anything could happen, and he found them just chilling. Yeah, Jerry was greeted by 5 fugitives just people watching in the elm trees by the elephant building. Clearly all they wanted to do was visit the zoo like everyone else. But you can't
That you know what? That's actually really lucky, and that's really kind of insightful to kind of like how they are. That like they just wanted to go and like see all the other animals too. I actually love that.
elm trees by the elephant building. Clearly all they wanted to do was visit the zoo like everyone else. But you can't just have several hundred pounds of primate in public unsupervised, so Jerry literally went up the tree, grabbed an orang by the hand, and led them all back to the exhibit with no resistance. Jerry was less gentle with his staff, and let it be known that another mistake like that and someone would get pink slipped straight into unemployment. Clearly Stone made his point, because nothing like that would ever happen again. Until
Getting lectured by this guy.
Clearly Stone made
This guy.
his point, because
Like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
nothing like that would ever happen again. Until next week, when it happened again. Yup, somehow, some way, orangutan gang got out again. No one got hurt, they actually went to the exact same spot in the trees. But a troop of tangerine men exercising free will is a
Oh my
nightmare for zoo
gosh.
PR, and this time, Jerry was ready to give someone permanent PTO, because no shot someone went through all that school in debt just to not close a furnace door. So imagine what went through Jerry's mind when the tans got out again. But this time, there was a catch. I used to think you'd only hear this line in a movie, but nah, someone actually ran up to Jerry and said, "You gotta come see this." And he wasn't wrong. You see, in the orangutan exhibit, there was a moat, and down at the bottom of that moat was a furnace door. And sure enough, they caught one of the males, Fu Manchu, fiddling with the door. They were watching from a distance so Fu wouldn't see them, but they couldn't see exactly what Fu was doing. All they knew was suddenly the door flew open and Usain Bolt felt a disturbance as these men broke the sound barrier running down to stop them. So now the solution was simple: clear the
Oh my god, so they figured that out. They figured it out. Oh my gosh, that is so crazy.
felt a disturbance as these men broke the sound barrier running down to stop them. So now the solution was simple: clear the enclosure of anything that could be used to escape and do it daily. And sure enough, the orang breakouts came to an end. for about a week until it happened again. Jerry
Oh
wasn't
my
even
gosh.
mad, just tired. Remember, he was a zoo director, and these Mandarin menaces were monopolizing his life. And it was while perp walking Fu Manchu, who just had to have the biggest eating grin. Jerry noticed a glimmer out the corner of his mouth. He pulls it out, and it all becomes clear. Out was a 4-inch piece of wire bent like a horseshoe that Fu Manchu had stashed between his lower lip and gum. The very hairy Houdini had been using it as a lockpick for weeks and
As a lock pick. Oh my gosh. That is incredible. This is kind of funny. More so because like, nothing bad ever happened to anybody or them, but like this is incredible. This is hysterical. I love this. I actually love this story.
hiding it in his oral wallet. No one taught Fu. Not only did he orchestrate his own emancipation, he had the foresight to realize he couldn't have the key out around keepers or else it'd get confiscated. Fu Manchu would be named.
Like, how does he know that? Because he's smart. Because he's smart. He's smart enough to know, like, I have this thing. I can't tell anybody I have it. I'm going to get my boys out and we're going to go have a boys' day with it. I love this.
Foresight to realize he couldn't have the key out around keepers or else it'd get confiscated. Fu Manchu would be named an honorary member of the Locksmith Union of the United States, and Jerry Stone would go on to work with several other interesting apes, including a gorilla named Harambe.
Oh.
Fu Manchu wouldn't be the last, or arguably the most creative. 27-year-old Carta used a stick to short-circuit an electric wire, and then used a bunch of sticks as a ladder to climb out her enclosure.
Oh
She
my
then just
God.
sat and enjoyed the view for 30 minutes until her keepers pulled up with tranquilizers, at which point she just went back in. Last year, Kimbali broke out of an $11 million habitat in Toronto by
$11 million habitat. Holy God. It's funny that like all of these, it's like, oh yeah, they found them and they were just chilling. Like they're all just chilling. I just love that.
back in. Last year, Kimbali broke out of an $11 million habitat in Toronto by cartwheeling past a wire barrier. Mind you, that
Oh my
habitat
gosh.
opened up the summer before. Bro flexed on them 11 million ways. The important thing is, in none of these cases do you see an orang get out with malicious intent. Most times they just cosplay as people. But what if
True.
one did have beef and use his powers for malfeasance?
We'd be in deep, deep doo-doo because these are big, strong animals. I mean, look at the teeth on this thing. You'd be screwed. That'd be it. Rip, rip, rip. Thanks for playing.
This is Ken Allen. It's the most famous name in orangutan lore, and you wouldn't even know the name if his mother Maggie had succeeded in smothering him before he even got it. He'd
Oh
be
my
named
God.
after the two zoo officials that would raise him instead, Ken Willingham and Ben Allen. As a baby, he'd soft launch his shenanigans by
Aw.
regularly unscrewing the bolts of his crib and dismantling it. And once he got too big for a crib, keeper Joanne Thomas would take him around the zoo in a stroller. A decision that arguably cost the zoo thousands. 5 days after moving into his new enclosure, June 13, 1985, Ken climbed a wall and got out. Years before, folks caught Ken building a DIY ladder out of some branches.
He built himself a ladder? Oh my God. Yo, orangutans, as much as like, they still make me uneasy, when I see them, but I gotta give them props. I gotta give them props. This is great. I absolutely love these.
And got out. Years before, folks caught Ken building a DIY ladder out of some branches. One thing I didn't mention is living in the trees full time means orangutans literally make their beds every single night. Up to 20,000 in a life. Clearly the craftsmanship carries on. Ken Allen spent his
Yeah.
freedom wandering the zoo, taking pictures with patrons before getting escorted back. Not a great thing to happen,
That's just what he was used to. He just wanted to, take his daily stroll around the zoo, let people take pictures with them. But I can imagine if anybody did anything to make him angry though, then ooh, that could go a totally different way.
wandering the zoo, taking pictures with patrons before getting escorted back. Not a great thing to happen, but no one got hurt, the wall he scaled got extended, and surely this wouldn't happen again. July 29th of that year, Ken found a way out again, but this time, his intentions weren't pure. You see, there
I kind of feel like when you see them walking around, I wonder, like, is this like where Bigfoot lore came from? Because I feel like if you saw one of these far enough out walking like this, like, would people have been like, oh yeah, this is a Bigfoot? I mean, like, I don't dislike the way that they look. I think they look cool, but at the same time, they kind of creep me out a little bit.
29th of that year, Ken found a way out again, but this time, his intentions weren't pure. You see, there was another orang, Otis. Ken did not like Otis. Ken
Uh-uh.
hated Otis. He hated him so much that they actually had to be separated because orangs might be an endangered species, but as long as they are roommates, Otis was an endangered individual. So when Ken escaped a second time, he went straight for Otis's corner and chucked rocks at him. That premeditated stoning.
Like that's not even. I mean, I guess depending on the size of the stone, but I sitting outside another enclosure just so you can throw rocks at the one that you don't like. You know what? I can't blame them.
He went straight for Otis's
I can't say that like if I was like that, you know, if I could, if I had no self control, I'd be petty like that too.
corner and chucked rocks at him. That premeditated stoning put him in solitary confinement.
Oh no.
But I'm sure Ken will tell you it was worth it. But the reason for the beef might have been jealousy. Otis was the breeding star of San Diego with nearly 10 kids and 3 wives.
10 kids and 3 wives. That's impressive. That is impressive. I could see jealousy. I mean, they obviously are really smart, so I could see them feeling jealous 100%. And, lashing out at that, sure.
Ken hated him as a concept, so the zoo gave him 4. And of course that backfired when Ken started teaching them how to disrespect infrastructure too. One day, someone left a crowbar in the enclosure, and instead of using it while everyone watched, he just tossed it aside like he didn't even care. An actual orang move, except he threw it to a female named Vicky, and she used it to pry open a window and free them both. Also, Otis wasn't the only victim. Apparently, he took offense to a TV crew filming a documentary on gorillas and pelted them with rocks until he ran out of rocks and started using cannonballs from his colon. Ken was so
Oh no. Yeah, well, I get, don't be acting like that. And I bet Ken would have been cool with you. So, some people just don't know. Or maybe Ken just didn't like him. Maybe, he wasn't vibing with him and was like, I had enough of this.
them with rocks until he ran out of rocks and started using cannonballs from his colon. Ken was so crafty, employees would only have a chance of studying him if they dressed like regular guests, cause Ken would never incriminate himself if someone in uniform was around. Ken would break out a few more times, never hurting anyone, except Otis. He did once approach a child and mumble, "No one will ever believe you," before walking away. And if you doubt that, your disbelief makes his legacy stronger. His legacy was he cost the zoo over $40,000 in zoo enhancements, undercover surveillance, electric wiring.
Undercover surveillance. Oh my, imagine having to be undercover to keep this guy in. Oh, this guy's a badass. This one's a badass. Ken, you are a 10.
He cost the zoo over $40,000 in zoo enhancements, undercover surveillance, electric wiring, and even hired rock climbers to find every possible finger, foot, and toe hold. But he likely made that back and more, with all the PR Ken Allen brought to the zoo, just by being himself. But except for Otis, who, let's be real, must have done something to deserve it, Ken Allen never used his intellect to inflict violence. Bro just wanted a vibe. But what could an orang with a human grudge do? There's a story of an orangutan actor hating his trainer and waiting until the two were alone up in a tree, where
Oh my god. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. This is where it's gonna get dark. It's gonna get dark. But I wonder if this trainer was not a good one. I don't know. But I feel like this is gonna be something.
story of an orangutan actor hating his trainer and waiting until
They are really cute babies though. Little orangutan babies. They are adorable.
the two were alone up in a tree, where Pierre strangled his human op and threw him to the ground. But the only proof is the obscure article I couldn't find a source for. Plus, Pierre was probably in the right. Now, Joe's revenge was more than just a story. Joe was an orangutan that appeared in over 100 movies by 1919. This was a time where there were no laws against capturing, selling, and even killing wild orangutans. Universal Studios would take full advantage, and as cute as he was as a toddler, things changed once he became a teen. There would be several incidents with Joe, including a lawsuit where a security guard claimed Joe had mauled him with over 40 bites. There was another time he escaped, and when police pulled up to catch him, Joe stole an officer's gun. But the most infamous case was Joe.
He stole a gun? Oh my, bro's gangster.
And when police pulled up to catch him, Joe stole an officer's gun. But the most infamous case was Joe breaking out of the Universal Zoo, serving straight chaos for 3 days, and even releasing 15 wolves and his elephant friend Charlie on the way out. But Joe did seem to have a code. Not only did he never attack women or children, he'd often defend them. One scene had an actor pretend to spank a child, but because Joe don't play pretend with the little ones, the O-ring went O-line and leveled the guy. Another scene had Joe's character help rob a lady, but when good guy Joe saw the villain looming over her, Joe folded his clothes, with him in them. By 1924, Joe was retired from show business after
How that's really impressive though, like for Joe to not want to harm women and children, but then kind of like like in his eyes, he's going after the bad guys. I mean that is quite the intelligence level.
clothes, with him in them. By 1924, Joe was retired from show business after being deemed too dangerous to work with. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, it's Team Joe over here. But there's an
Yeah.
even darker side to orangutans.
I feel like all animals in show business, I guess, like around that time, and I don't know how recently it got better, but I definitely view a lot of animal movies a lot differently as an adult than I did as a kid. I mean, like, well, obviously, for one, because I'm older now, but from watching a lot of these videos and seeing like kind of like the actual reality of it all, it's kind of horrifying of how these poor animals were treated. They were I mean, it just, like, kind of breaks my heart, and I hope that nowadays I mean, I would imagine there's a lot of laws and a lot of, things in place to have animal well-being, a priority if they are in show business, but it's definitely, like, a dark time that I feel like probably, like, not a lot of people cover or talk about of just, like, kind of, like, how animals were treated back then for show business.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, it's Team Joe over here. But there's an even darker side to orangutans. So dark that I'ma just drop this. Here's an ad while you consider your options.
Okay.
Birute Galdeques is a primatologist and one of the leading experts on orangutans, and in the 70s, she arrived at Camp Liki in Tanjung Putin National Park, where she was immediately warned by native Indonesians that some male orangutans can find humans attractive and occasionally physically and forcefully act on it. She didn't believe
Oh. Oh, no. Okay. Oh, no. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Okay. Okay.
find humans attractive and occasionally physically and forcefully act on it. She didn't believe it until a male walked into camp one day and violated a female cook, and even multiple people trying to wrestle him off couldn't stop the salacious onslaught. It's now advised that menstruating women either avoid orangs or walk around with a club. So as you can see,
Oh,
orangutans
God.
are capable of anything from petty theft and zoo escapes all the way to premeditated census layoffs. But honestly, they could and should be way worse. An orangutan has never
I don't I mean, like, I mean, terrifying as that would probably happen, at the same time, I don't think it's I guess it since I guess we don't know for sure if they were, like, if it's out of malice, but part of me doesn't really think so. But because I think at the end of the day, like they're still animals, that like we can't speak with, and they kind of have their own way of doing things. They have their own ways of living, and so as terrifying as it is for something like this to happen to you, at the same time, like I don't know, I don't necessarily inherently think that they're being bad necessarily. I obviously amongst themselves, there's definitely like some bad things that have happened. But at the same time, I mean, like I mean, like the animal kingdom is pretty savage. It's pretty savage, and we just gotta respect it and know that that's just kind of how it is. Like we can't always humanize everything that animals do, even if it does affect us. And I think that that's always like a hard line to draw there for a lot of people. I mean, I'm guilty of it too, because it's easy to do, and when you have animals that are so smart like this, that it's impressive, and then you kind of forget that they're still animals and that they're still different, right? So I get it, but it's also pretty terrifying. That is a terrifying thing to have happen.
layoffs. But honestly, they could and should be way worse. An orangutan has never been on record murking a man, and some have had very good reasons. Joe Martin had every good reason, and the fact that he died with no body says more about his kind. The strong mom bond means Joe's mom was almost certainly destroyed for him to be taken. Joe
Mm.
suffered all manners of neglect, including electrical burns from wires, eye
Oh my
damage from the constant
God.
stage lights. He was given cigars and alcohol which ruined his health, and he was
Oh
even knocked out by
God.
former heavyweight James Jeffries. All without never really interacting with another orang. Joe going through all that and never severely maiming someone is our entire relationship with orangs in a nutshell.
This is very interesting, right? Like that he was still like he had like a heart of gold basically, and then like yeah, we know what happens. We know what happened with Travis. That was I don't think I'll ever forget that one.
Joe going through all that and never severely maiming someone is our entire relationship with orangs in a nutshell. We have done far more to them than for them, in
Yeah.
worse ways than you think. I can't even say what this one went through, just know her name is Pony and her story is not for the weak.
Oh
Orangutans as a
gosh.
whole are a victim of humanity, and the
This is after being hit with air rifle 74 times, blinding her. Oh my God. Oh God. I don't know. Like I could never like harm another animal for no reason.
and her story is not for the weak. Orangutans as a whole are a victim of humanity, and the worst part is what happens when they're gone. Once all the orangs in an area are gone, all the generational knowledge of how to live there dies with them. It's not just a species, it's an entire culture that goes extinct, with no
Yeah.
way of bringing it back. So what can you
Yeah.
on your phone, computer, or TV do? One is obviously support an organization that helps with research and rehabilitation, which is why I'll be donating to Orangutan Foundation International, founded by Galdekis herself. Link down below if you'd like to as well. Also, never support a place that uses orangutans as tourist traps. Any
Oh, yeah, that is true. That is another thing that I've noticed nowadays too. It's that like all these animals that are for tourist reasons, I feel I like now I just have like a bad vibe with it.
below if you'd like to as
Unless it's like a sanctuary one, right? But like I don't know, even then, because like have you seen like some of those are like really, really shitty too.
well. Also, never support a place that uses orangutans as tourist traps. Any place that lets you pay to play with an orangutan is a huge red flag. But
Yeah.
probably the best way is to avoid palm oil. Palm oil is the leading cause of their extinction, and it's in 50% of household products in the West. It's a commitment, but it's looking like we either give up the oil or negotiate the red ape's existence. The choice is yours, just know the orangutans would probably do the same for us. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. But first, I wanna thank y'all. If you remember my elephant sanctuary video, then you know that the park actually flooded a month after I visited. A flood that cost 2 rescued elephants their lives. But you
Right.
guys came through with the donations, and Miss
Oh,
Lek Chyler
good.
was so grateful, they actually made a cake with my name and gave it to the elephants.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Oh, I love this. Oh, I love their cake. Oh, this is so good. This is so great to hear because I do remember watching that one.
And seeing my favorite animals eating out of my namesake cake would have been impossible without you guys, so thank you all.
Well, good
Hopefully
job,
one day I can do the
everyone.
same for Camp Leaky, but until then, drink water, hug your mother. If an orangutan hits you, apologize, because you deserved it. And I'ma see y'all in the next one.
I really like this one. This was very dark. This was very dark, but also pretty wholesome too at the same time. But we went to two two extremes in this one, but I absolutely loved it. For not knowing a ton about orangutans, they are impressive. They are cool. They are super smart. Um, it does seem like he was saying like they have like a whole culture around them, which is just really amazing to see and just incredible. And I hope that people keep donating to any sort of reserve or rescue for them because I would love to see them be able to have like a more booming population for themselves, especially since they are not doing good population wise. So, but I absolutely love this video. This was great. This was so insightful and entertaining as always. But I really, really enjoyed this one. This one was really good. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you guys being here. Be sure to like and subscribe to Casual Geographic because he does such an amazing job. But that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys had a great day, and I will see you in the next one.